judge decided to dismiss a case where a white female spat on a black woman, a protester for Black Lives Matter. Put it up full mass. Let me give you the background. Hartford, Connecticut, a judge on Friday decided to dismiss a hate crime and other charges against a white female who spat on a black female during competing protest. This was at the Connecticut state capitol. Then was allowed to resolve the case through alternative sentencing and probation. The victim called the outcome, and I quote, being spit on once again. Let me give you background to the hateful incident. The two women, both in their 40s, crossed paths as people rallied at the Capitol for various causes. This was on January 6, 2021. The start of a new state legislative session. It was also, as it turned out, the date of the insurrection at the US Capitol. And it was in the thick of the coronavirus pandemic. Keren Prescott, the victim, was taking part in a Black Lives Matter demonstration while Gilshteyn, the defendant, was protesting mandatory childhood vaccines and COVID-19 masking. Prescott said she and others were simply shouting Black Lives Matter and other slogans when Gilshteyn countered with remarks including all lives matter and Black lives don't matter. Prescott, who was wearing a face mask, also said she told the woman to back up because she was not masked. That's when she was spat upon. Now, let me go back to the era of this scenario. This was during a time when we literally saw Trump supporters going to grocery stores, deciding to put their saliva on food, vegetables, produce, right? They got arrested. Some of them got arrested. One person got charged with some type of biological terrorism. It was quite, well, let's just say creative of the DA. But the point was they were intentionally doing this not just to be disrespectful, but to also possibly infect the other individual with COVID-19 or give the impression that they could. So there was more to this than just, plain old disrespect. So the justice system's failure. So the woman who decided to spit on the face of this young lady, Ms. Prescott, including deprivation of rights, which is a hate crime. She faced those charges. This was a 2021 encounter. Then she was granted a special probation sentence that lets first-time offenders avoid a criminal record if they complete certain requirements. Ours included 100 hours of anti-hate instruction. So let's go to the Superior Court judge, Sheila Pratt. So Sheila Pratt is the one who actually okayed this, deal. She called the incident despicable, but also qualified the individual for special probation and was called accelerated rehabilitation. The attorney has said his client's actions were wrong. They admit to that, but not racially motivated. He characterized the encounter as a reaction in a heated environment. Now you hear that, right? Wrong, but not racially motivated. What was the scene? One woman saying Black lives matter. Another woman literally said Black lives don't matter and spat upon the face of that woman. How is that not racially motivated? How do you ignore the racial significance to that back and forth, cause and effect? There's more. Prescott on Friday said that she was disgusted by the outcome, and she called the program one of the worst things that could happen to a victim of a hate crime. The justice system is failing Black and brown people, she told the judge, adding, this is being spit on once again. Now there are some who will say, well, Doc, she was a first offender, she qualified for the program. What's the issue? Well, here's the issue. Everybody doesn't qualify for the program automatically. You have to be waved into it. It doesn't matter that you meet the qualifications. There are many people who meet the qualifications, especially people of color, but they do not get that opportunity. to literally have no criminal record. Typically, when it is an aggravated offense, you don't get this program. That's why the hate crime charge is allocated. It makes the offense even more egregious in how you can sentence, how you can prosecute. And what happened to prosecutors who would say things like, we don't want this in our community. We're gonna make an example out of this person to show everyone it was serious about hate crimes. You rarely hear that. But let a 16-year-old black kid do something stupid who's part of a gang, okay, a clique or a crew. Watch how quickly the justice system lines up, holds a press conference to make sure everybody feels safe. They're gonna tell you what they're about to do to this juvenile. That happens often. And then you get a 40-plus-year-old woman who damn sure knows better, engages in what is de facto a hate crime. We're going to qualify this person for a special program to avoid a criminal record. Or now you have another challenge. That means that after this probated sentence, she applies for a job. She wants to work in the school system. I'm just giving you scenarios. This doesn't even come up on the record. This doesn't come up on the record, not the official record. That's a problem. This is not how you should treat egregious acts in societal context. There's a reason why the program is not automated, because judgment is required from people like the judge before the qualification is made. All right, Doc, thoughts here.
Well, it would be great if this system applied to everybody. It would be a great way to, have kind of a step down. I personally feel like, especially given the context that you were talking about, there really is a difference between protesting, which is everybody's First Amendment right. That's cool. But spitting on people at that moment was not an innocent act. I mean, there were a lot of cases across the country, across the world, because people didn't have immunity at the time to coronavirus, where people were getting like spit on and catching COVID. And I remember a case in the UK I'm thinking of where the person passed away and they had a manslaughter charge. And so it was not an innocent act. And I do think it's really important for society to draw the line between protesting and what this was, which was actually doing something that was incredibly unsafe. That being said, I think you're right that if we could get a program like this, not for this case, because again, I think spitting on people is a different animal altogether in this context. But if there was a case that applied to everybody where we said, hey, look, here's the process, here's the program, and this doesn't have to apply to your record if you do this, and then you send people for like anti-racism training or whatever, all the stuff they're doing away with. Yeah, heck, why not? If that's gonna apply to everybody. But again, I do think that spitting on people during the COVID issue was another level to this. There was certainly a very strong racial component. I mean, how else are you gonna judge if something's racist than by what somebody says and by what they did? That's two strikes right there. What else do you have to go on? So I do think it sounded like a hate crime. But again, I think if the system worked like this, where they gave people a way to like repair the damage and apologize and learn from their mistakes, like great, let's apply that to everybody. And to me, that would be a better system.
I agree with you. However, in this case, none of that was required. An admission was not required. Taking classes on how to not be racist, not required. None of that.